What's going on, everyone? I know that we're living in tough times here with this virus, but just want to say we're all going to get through this together. And I'm doing this video today because, without sports right now, sports is huge in my life, but without it, life can get kind of boring. So just wanted to create a little video because everyone has their own weird talent. And so 5 years ago, ESPN employees Trey Wingo and Michael Smith created a video where they memorized all the Super Bowls, the scores, MVPs. So that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm going to go do the similar stuff that they did, but go even in more detail. So this is uncut, unedited, 54 Super Bowls. So let's see how it goes. So Super Bowl one, Green Bay Packers of the NFL facing the Kansas City Chiefs of the AFL, because back then there were two leagues called the AFL-NFL World Championship game, and the Green Bay Packers took that game 35-10. Bart Starr is the MVP. That was played in the LA Coliseum. Max McGee, the Packers receiver, a 35-year-old backup receiver, Boyd Dollar, the starter, went down. McGee, the night before, went out. He was known as a partier, and he was hungover for the game, and he ended up scoring 2 touchdowns. And if you've ever seen any Super Bowl highlights, you've probably seen the one where he snagged it with one hand and went all the way. So that was McGee. After the game, legendary coach Vince Lombardi says, "Listen, the Chiefs they're pretty good, but they're not as good as the best competition in the NFL. And over the next couple of years, as I'll explain, how the tides turn kind of with that and creates the NFL merger." Super Bowl II, Packers repeat as Super Bowl champions, 33-14 over the Oakland Raiders. Bart Starr, MVP again, threw a long touchdown to Boyd Dollar. Herb Adderley with a pick six of Darryl LaMonica, the first pick six in Super Bowl history. Packers win their second straight Super Bowl. Vince Lombardi retires after the game. That one played at the Orange Bowl. Super Bowl III again played at the Orange Bowl. This one was huge. This is the Joe Namath guarantee. We're gonna win the game. Listen, bud, we're gonna win the game. I guarantee it. That was that one. 16-7 Jets over the Colts. Colts dominated the NFL. Only 1 or 2 losses, I believe. I think 2. Earl Morrall was the MVP. Johnny Unitas was hurt throughout the season, and Namath confident in his team. Matt Snell, the fullback, scored the only touchdown of the game for the New York Jets, and Morrall's picked off 4 times. And Unitas came in late. They scored a touchdown, but it was too late. This is known as one of the greatest upsets in NFL history, especially what it meant for the league. As Lombardi said, the AFL, they're just not good enough. But Namath guaranteed victory. And after next Super Bowl IV, Kansas City Chiefs beat the Minnesota Vikings 23-7. By the way, Joe Namath MVP, if I didn't say that, for Super Bowl III. Super Bowl IV, Chiefs over the Vikings 23-7. Len Dawson, the MVP. This is the 69 Chiefs defense with Willie Lanier and Bobby Bell. A very, very underrated defense by the minds of people who don't really watch the game too much. This is the Hank Stram game. Coach for the Chiefs was mic'd up, and the 65 toss power trap to I forget his name, Garrett. Mike Garrett. Yeah, he went to USC. He scored a rushing touchdown. Otis Taylor had a long touchdown reception, and 23-7. Later, that would be the last season of the AFL. So AFL 2, NFL 2, and then they merged to create one league. So Chiefs win that one. Now we're into the 70s. Super Bowl V, Baltimore Colts over the Cowboys, 16-13. This is known as the Blunder Bowl because there were so many turnovers in this game on muff punts and fumbles and picks. Chuck Howley was the MVP. He was actually on the Cowboys, so the only time that's ever happened where the losing team has the Super Bowl MVP. Very sloppy game. Jim O'Brien, rookie kicker for the Baltimore Colts, kicked the game-winning field goal with little time on the clock, and the Colts avenged their loss in Super Bowl III and get their first victory. Super Bowl VI, Dallas gets back. That Super Bowl V, Craig Morton was the starter. They switched a guy from Navy named Roger Staubach. You may have heard of him. And He led them to victory 24-3 over the Dolphins. Roger Staubach was the MVP that game, threw a touchdown to Hall of Famers Lance Allworth, and Mike Ditka was a tight end for the Cowboys at the end of his career. Miami is the only team other than the Los Angeles Rams back in Super Bowl 53 against the Patriots to not have a touchdown of any kind. So they only scored 3 points. It's pretty much on that one. Tom Landry gets his first Super Bowl win. But Miami would get right back to the Super Bowl the next year at the LA Coliseum. It's the undefeated Miami Dolphins versus the Washington Redskins. Billy Kilmer, the quarterback, due to Sonny Jurgensen's injury. George Allen, the head coach for the Washington Redskins. Don Shula, head coach for the Dolphins. They complete the perfect season. Bob Greasy comes back from his leg injury and throws a touchdown. Jake Scott, your MVP, 14-7 on that one for 2 picks of Kilmer. And this was the Gary Apremian kickoff of his own lineman. He tried to make it 17-0 for a 17-0 season, but he missed the field goal. He tried picking it up, and he threw it, but it just went straight up in the air, and Mike Bass returned it for a touchdown. But Miami wins the game and wins their first Super Bowl. They get right back to the Super Bowl the next year to play the Minnesota Vikings in Super Bowl 8. They come out victorious, 24-7. Larry Zonka, the MVP. This one played at Rice Stadium down in Texas. Interesting site for a Super Bowl, but this was 1974, January of 1974. Larry Zonka ran wild over the Vikings with over 100 rushing yards. Vikings really couldn't do anything. They fell to 0-2 in Super Bowls. Miami, the first team and one of only 2 teams to make 3 or more Super Bowl appearances in a row and win at least one of them. Obviously, the Buffalo Bills lost 4 in a row, so they don't count in that category. Next, Super Bowl 9. I believe Super Bowl 8 was the last Super Bowl where the goalposts were next to the end zone. You know how today they're in the back of the end zone? They used to be near the front. So Super Bowl 9 was the beginning of the Steelers dynasty. Terry Bradshaw, Steel Curtain defense. This was really one for the defense, 16-6. Steelers over the Minnesota Vikings, who make it back for the second straight year. There was a safety in this game. Franco Harris was the MVP of this one, ran for over 100 yards. Bradshaw threw 1 touchdown, but really this is more of a defensive game where one play where Tarkenton threw it over the middle next to the end zone, gets hit really hard. Ball pops up into the air, and Mel Blount, Hall of Famer, picks it off. And from there, the Steelers go on to win 4 Super Bowls in 6 years. Like I said, Franco Harris, MVP of that one. Next year, Steelers get right back to the Super Bowl 10, against the Dallas Cowboys, 2 premier franchises in the 70s, and then again in the 90s and 2000s. 21-17, Steelers over the Cowboys. MVP is Lynn Swann. Caught 4 balls for 139 yards, I think, and a touchdown. Obviously, the levitating leap everyone remembers, the catch on the sideline when he had to toe tap. Caught a long touchdown at the end of the game. That was really his game. Bradshaw actually got knocked out on the play. He threw the touchdown. Staubach tried leading the troops back, but couldn't do so, and the clock ran out, and the Steelers win their second straight Super Bowl. That was the same season the Cowboys with the Hail Mary against the Vikings. So they were a wild card team. So they go on the road to play the Vikings. So it wasn't a great season for them, but it made it all the way to the Super Bowl. Funny note from that game, Roy Jarrella, the kicker for the Steelers, missed a field goal, and Cowboy safety Cliff Harris was kind of taunting him. And then Jack Lambert, if you ever heard of Jack Lambert, linebacker for the Steel Curtain, missing half of his teeth. He took offense to that. And back in the 70s, you could pick up a guy and throw him to the ground and they wouldn't call penalties. So just a funny note from that one. Super Bowl 11, played at the Rose Bowl. Oakland Raiders had come so close to make it a Super Bowl for so many years, other than their appearance in Super Bowl II. Kenny Stabler, John Madden, they get their first Super Bowl victory, 32-14 against the Minnesota Vikings, who then go 0-4 in Super Bowls and haven't gone back to the Super Bowl since. Fred Biletnikoff, the MVP of that one, caught 4 or 5 balls and no touchdowns. It was about like 79, 80 yards. And the reason why he was named MVP is because 3 of his receptions, he was like down at the 1 yard line, and then the Raiders punched it in. Purple People Eaters, defensive line for the Vikings, couldn't do much. Art Shell, Gene Upshaw, lineman for the Raiders, really did a good job stopping them. Probably the most famous play from this game was Willie Brown, veteran for the Raiders, picks off Tarkenton at the end of the game. And Bill King, voice of the Raiders, Old Man Willie. And NFL Films has got like his face, and he's running, and it's just an iconic shot. So that's that Super Bowl 32-14. Next, Super Bowl 12. So this is the first Super Bowl played at night, I guess, because if it's a West Coast time, it could be 6 o'clock, but it's 3 o'clock Pacific time. But this is one of the first Super Bowl where it was played, in the nighttime. First 11 Super Bowls were played during the daytime. Cowboys get their second ring, 27-10 over the Denver Broncos. That Orange Crush team wasn't quite enough. Craig Morton, the first quarterback to take 2 different teams to the Super Bowl, loses both. Harvey Martin and Randy White are co-MVPs of this one. Lots of turnovers in this one as well, just like Super Bowl 5. Nothing really noteworthy as far as plays. Just a good performance from the Dallas Doomsday defense. So they win that one. Super Bowl 13, Dallas gets back to play the Steelers for the second time. Steelers beat the Cowboys 35-31. Terry Bradshaw this time wins MVP. This one was known as one of the better Super Bowls of all time by lots of NFL historians because you had so many Hall of Famers on both sides of the ball with the Steelers and the Cowboys. Terry Bradshaw, MVP for 4 touchdowns, threw 2 to Stallworth, 1 to Rocky Bleier, Vietnam War veteran, and another one to Lynn Swann to ice the game. They were leading 35-17 at one point before Roger Staubach led them on 2 touchdown drives. So next, Super Bowl 14, Steelers over the Rams 31-19 at the Rose Bowl. This one was, I believe, the highest attended Super Bowl of all time. Don't at me at that, but I believe that's true. Bradshaw wins MVP again. This is the Vince Ferragamo 79 Rams team who upset the Cowboys. That was Staubach's last season, I believe. And Steelers win their first team to win 4 Super Bowls. They win those in 6 years. 70 Steelers, one of the greatest dynasties of all time. Stallworth caught a big reception. He got 2 big receptions on the game. That one went for a touchdown where he caught it over his shoulder. This Super Bowl is known because the Iran hostage crisis was going on, so there was a lot of uncertainty going on there. But Steelers pull out the victory for Super Bowl. Next, Super Bowl 15, Oakland Raiders get their second Super Bowl. This time it's Tom Flores coaching, 27-10 over the Philadelphia Eagles and Dick Vermeil coaching that team. This one, MVP was Jim Plunkett. Plunkett replaced Stabler as a starter after they traded Stabler away to the Oilers, and he was an MVP performance. He threw an 80-yard touchdown to running back Kenny King, and Cliff Branch had a big game that game too. And the Raiders win their second Super Bowl. Totally blank on the name. Rod Martin, yes, there you go. 3 interceptions of Ron Jaworski on that one. Fun fact for that game. Super Bowl 16 was the 49ers dynasty starting. They beat by the way, Super Bowl 15 in the Superdome. Super Bowl 16, 49ers over the Bengals 26-21. MVP is Joe Montana. Didn't have too great of an offensive game, but did enough. Ray Wershing kicked 4 field goals. Montana rushed for a touchdown and threw into Earl Cooper. 49ers had a goal line stand in that one. This was at the Pontiac Silverdome. And 49ers win their first Super Bowl. Super Bowl 17, this was the John Riggins game. Joe Montana MVP. I forgot that totally. Super Bowl 17 is the John Riggins game. Washington Redskins over the Miami Dolphins, 27-17. Started off as MVP was John Riggins, by the way. This one started off this is the first kickoff return in Super Bowl for a touchdown Super Bowl history. Fulton Walker for the Miami Dolphins, and then David Woodley to Jimmy Cephalo for a long, long touchdown, and that was like some of his only passing yards of the game. This Miami team was not the best team to make it to the Super Bowl, but Redskins with John Riggins, Joe Theismann, and the Fun Bunch won that one 27-17. And Redskins win their first Super Bowl title under Joe Gibbs. A couple more of those to come. Super Bowl 18, Raiders over the Washington Redskins 38-9 in Tampa Bay. Marcus Allen, MVP of this one, that he had the famous spin around run, Bill King, Holy Toledo. After the game, President Reagan said, to Tom Flores that he was, he got a call from Moscow and that Marcus Allen has a secret weapon, kind of joking around about that because they were in the midst of the Cold War, Soviet Union and the United States. Jack Squirick with a pick six in that one. Right before the half, Joe Theismann, backed up at his own goal line, tried to throw a screen to Joe Washington, and Squirick perfectly read it, intercepted it. His momentum carried him into the end zone. So, pick six, Marcus Allen, 38-9. Raiders win their third Super Bowl and their last Super Bowl to date. Next, Super Bowl 19 at Stanford Stadium, we have San Francisco 49ers over the Miami Dolphins. This is the only Super Bowl that Dan Marino ever got to. 38-16, Joe Montana, MVP again, had a fantastic game. Before the game, President Reagan flipped the coin from the White House. Marino would never get back to another Super Bowl, and Bill Walsh and the crew get their second Super Bowl. Super Bowl 20 in the Superdome. This was the 85 Bears, defeating the New England Patriots 46-10. This was Tony Eason, quarterback for the Patriots, didn't complete a pass all game, and then he got replaced by Steve Grogan. The Bears defense dominates. MVP is Richard Dent. Should probably go a little quicker because it's taking a lot of time. Super Bowl 21, New York Giants over the Denver Broncos. 39-20, Giants get their first victory under Bill Parcells. Phil Simms, 22-25, 3 touchdowns. Fantastic game. John Elway loses his first Super Bowl. George Martin with a safety on John Elway and made the score 10-9 at halftime, and then Giants dominated the third quarter, only left 2 total yards in the third quarter. So, Phil Simms MVP, 39-20 Giants over the Broncos. Super Bowl 22, this is the Doug Williams game. Doug Williams won the second quarter, one of the greatest quarters in NFL history. Doug Williams, the first black quarterback to start and to win a Super Bowl. Redskins won this one 42-10 over the Broncos. So Denver's first play from scrimmage, Elway threw a touchdown to Ricky Nattiel, and then they added a field goal. It's 10-0 after the first quarter, and then Washington scored 35 unanswered points in the second quarter. They would add another touchdown. Timmy Smith, all-time rushing leader in the Super Bowl with over 200 yards. He was a rookie that year, and he would never be heard from again. He played like 2 more years in the league and didn't do very much. It's kind of a one-hit wonder. Super Bowl 23, this was the Joe Montana's third Super Bowl down in Tampa. 20-16 over the Cincinnati Bengals. Stanford Jennings for the Bengals had a kickoff return touchdown, but Montana down 16-13 with 3 minutes to go, backed up, his own 7-yard line, led the team 93 yards. Jerry Rice, MVP this one, had over 200 yards receiving, a single game receiving record in the Super Bowl. Joe Montana found John Taylor in the back of the end zone, and Bill Walsh's final game ends in a Super Bowl victory. Super Bowl 24, 49ers over the Broncos. They get back-to-back Super Bowls. 55-10, biggest blowout in Super Bowl history. Montana throws for a then record 5 touchdowns, and 49ers absolutely dominate this game. John Elway was not very good, loses his third Super Bowl in 4 years. MVP Joe Montana for his 5 touchdowns in the Superdome. Super Bowl 25. This one's a very well-known game. Giants over the Bills, 20-19 down in Tampa. This was the Persian Gulf War was going on. Whitney Houston sang the national anthem, and everyone was crying because in time of war, and she was a beautiful rendition of the national anthem. Buffalo Bills coming in with a 51-3 victory in the AFC Championship game against the Raiders. The K-Gun offense, dominant. Bill Belichick, the defensive coordinator for the Giants, who beat the two-time defending champion 49ers in the NFC Championship game 15-13, was up to the task. He only allowed 19 points, including a safety from Bruce Smith, so it wasn't the defense's fault on that one. This one's known for the Scott Norwood missed kick in the final moments of the game, and also the Mark Ingram third down play where it looked like he wasn't going to get the first down, and he reached out his arms and got the first down, and Otis Anderson would punch in a touchdown to take the lead. In that one, Super Bowl 26, we're almost halfway there. This was the Washington Redskins getting their third Super Bowl. By the way, Otis Anderson, MVP of Super Bowl 25 for his effort on the ground game. Super Bowl 26, Redskins over the Bills, 37-24, MVP Mark Rippon. This one was played at the Metrodome in Minneapolis, or Minneapolis-St. Paul. And this one, Bills' second straight trip to the Super Bowl, didn't fare very well. This is the Thurman Thomas game where he forgot his helmet and was out on the first play. And if you rewatch the play, the backup goes the wrong way. If he went the right way, he could have been gone. It was a hole as big as a truck. But Mark Rippon, MVP, throws touchdowns to Ernest Biner and Gary Clark. And Redskins get their third Super Bowl and three different quarterbacks for Joe Gibbs. Super Bowl 27, this is the Cowboys dynasty in the 90s. They defeated the Bills again for the third time. The Bills would lose in a row. 52-17 at the Rose Bowl. This one was pretty much a blowout mostly the entire time. Michael Irvin, the touchdown. Alvin Harper, the touchdown. Smith had a touchdown. Troy Aikman had 4 touchdowns. He was the MVP of this one. This is probably best known for the Leon Lett play for the Cowboys where he extended, tried to, kind of celebrate before he scored the touchdown, and Don Beebe knocked it out. But Cowboys win their first Super Bowl since Super Bowl 12. Next year, the Cowboys get back to play the Bills. The only time there's been Super Bowl rematch 2 years in a row. 30-13, Cowboys defeat the Bills. Emmitt Smith this time the MVP with 2 touchdowns and a good performance on the ground. Bills lose their 4th straight Super Bowl. This one was played at the Georgia Dome. Super Bowl 29, now it's Super Bowl 29. This is Steve Young, 49-26. 49ers over the Chargers. Steve Young MVP for a record touchdown. 6 touchdowns in the game. 3 to Jerry Rice. And yeah, that was pretty, the Steve Young get the monkey off my back game, and that was the only Super Bowl he would win. Next year, Dallas gets their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 27-17 in Tempe, Arizona. MVP Larry Brown for his 2 interceptions of Neil O'Donnell, which anyone could have intercepted because those 2 interceptions went right to Larry Brown. One of them late in the game with the Steelers down 3 points. Larry Brown returned it to the 5. The Cowboys punched it in, and they punched in the Super Bowl. But Bill Cowher, coach for the Steelers, did have that onside kick play, which is very gutsy, and would help a team we'll see in 14 years later win a Super Bowl by a surprise onside kick. Super Bowl 31, Packers defeat the New England Patriots 35-21. Your MVP, Desmond Howard, for his kickoff return touchdown. This is Brett Favre's Super Bowl win. First drive of the game. Throws a touchdown to Andre Rison. Reggie White was unbelievable for the Packers with 3 sacks. Tied for Super Bowl record with multiple players. And Packers win this one in the Superdome. Super Bowl 32, we have Packers get back, but they lose 31-24, to the Denver Broncos. John Elway gets his first Super Bowl. This one's for John. down in San Diego, and this one was the Terrell Davis show. He would win MVP for 3 touchdowns, and then LA would get the other touchdown when Terrell Davis couldn't see. He was having migraines, and he was put in the game. LA faked it to him, rolled right, and ran in for the touchdown. So Packers denied a chance at back-to-back Super Bowls. So Super Bowl 33, Denver Broncos defeat Atlanta Falcons. Everyone thought the Minnesota Vikings were going to make that one. That was the 15-1 team. Denver beats Atlanta 34-19 down in Florida and Miami. John Elway wins MVP in his final game as a professional athlete. Threw a long touchdown to Rod Smith, an 80-yarder. Nothing else really noteworthy in that one. Just John Elway wins back-to-back Super Bowls to end his career. Super Bowl 34. Chugging along here. This time the 99 Rams. Super Bowl 34 played at the Georgia Dome. The Rams defeated the Titans 23-16. MVP Kurt Warner threw a touchdown to Torrey Holt, and then the game winner to Isaac Bruce. This one, 1 yard short. Steve McNair of the Titans threw to Kevin Dyson, just couldn't get in the end zone. Titans were 14-2 that year, but actually the wild card team, and they had the Music City Miracle, so they had a magical season, and just 1 yard short of tying the game up and having the first overtime game in Super Bowl history, but nope. Super Bowl 35, that 2000 Baltimore Ravens defeated the New York Giants 34-7. We had a pick six by Dwayne Starks. We had 2 kickoff return touchdowns, one by Jermaine Lewis of the Ravens and by, I believe, Ron Dixon. I just remember that it was those 3 plays in order were like 3 fastest touchdowns in Super Bowl history. MVP Ray Lewis, the linebacker, Hall of Fame linebacker, wins MVP of that one. Now we're getting into more of the modern era, the Tom Brady era. Super Bowl 36, Patriots over the Rams, 20-17. Rams were a 14-point favorite. Tom Brady leads the Patriots to their first Super Bowl title. We are all Patriots. I'm a Patriots fan, and I was probably 3 or 4 months old when this happened, so I obviously don't remember it. But Tom Brady wins MVP, throws a touchdown to David Patton. Ty Law pick six on Kurt Warner in the first half, pressure by Mike Vrabel, and then Ty Law took it to the house. Ricky Prohl catch a touchdown with a minute and a half to go to tie it up, and then Tom Brady went on that game-winning drive, which John Madden famously said, if you're the Patriots, you have to sit on the ball, you have to play for overtime. Patriots didn't listen, and Vinatieri kicked the game-winning 47 or 48-yard field goal to win it for the Patriots. Super Bowl 37, Buccaneers over the Raiders, 48-21. MVP Dexter Jackson had for his effort, picked off Rich Gannon. Rich Gannon threw a Super Bowl record 5 interceptions. Dwight Smith had 2 pick sixes in this one, and Derek Brooks, the Hall of Fame linebacker, had a pick six. This game was known as the John Gruden Bowl, where he had coached the Raiders the previous couple of years, traded as a coach, which is very rare, to the Buccaneers. They knew every play that Gannon and Bill Callahan and the Raiders were running, and they capitalized, and 3 pick sixes, and their only Super Bowl title. Super Bowl 38, Patriots over the Carolina Panthers down in Houston, at Reliant Stadium, 32-29. MVP, this one was Tom Brady again. Much better game than he had in Super Bowl 36. Had 3 touchdowns, 1 to Deion Branch, 1 to Dave Givens, another to Mike Vrabel, who in his career had, I think, 10 catches, 10 receptions, and 10 touchdowns, which is interesting. Carolina put up a valiant effort, but Vinatieri again, with the game tied 29-29, kicked the game-winning field goal with 5 seconds remaining, and Patriots win their second Super Bowl. Super Bowl 39, Patriots will get back there again, win their 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years with a 24-21 victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. Deion Branch, the MVP, this one for 10 plus catches and no touchdowns, but over 100 yards. He had a phenomenal game. This one was played in Jacksonville, and Patriots captured their third Super Bowl in 4 years. Super Bowl 40. This was Jerome Bettis' last game. Steelers defeat the Seahawks 21-10 at the Ford Field in Detroit. Willie Parker had a 75-yard touchdown, rushing touchdown, which eclipsed Marcus Allen's 74-yard touchdown as the longest rushing touchdown in Super Bowl history. Antoine Randall, wide receiver, threw a touchdown to Hines Ward. Hines Ward was the MVP of that game. Bill Cowher gets his first and only Super Bowl as a head coach. Super Bowl 41 played down in rainy Miami, the only Super Bowl to have rain for a long period of time, or at all, maybe. 29-17, Colts over the Bears. This was MVP was Peyton Manning. This is Peyton Manning's first Super Bowl. Threw a touchdown to Reggie Wayne. Kelvin Hayden had a pick six of Rex Grossman, of the Bears, who couldn't hold onto the ball all day in the slippery rain. Lovie Smith and Tony Dungy, the first two black head coaches to coach against each other in the Super Bowl. And Colts come out on top to win their second Super Bowl, this time in Indianapolis, not Baltimore. Next, we have Super Bowl 42, one of the greatest upsets along with Super Bowl 3 in NFL history. Giants defeating the Patriots 17-14. MVP Eli Manning threw a touchdown to David Tyree early in the game. Obviously, the helmet catch everyone remembers, and then a touchdown to Plaxico Burress with about 30 seconds to go to seal the win. The Patriots were 18-0, looking to go 19-0. Didn't happen. Giants win. Great game, known as one of the better games in league history. Super Bowl 43, we have Steelers over the Cardinals 27-23. Santonio Holmes MVP for that toe drag touchdown to win the game. That and James Harrison's 100-yard pick six to end the first half were two of the most well-known plays in NFL history. And in fact, NFL did a top 100 plays, and those two both ranked in the top 10. Kurt Warner denied a chance of his second Super Bowl. Larry Fitzgerald had a phenomenal game. Had that touchdown with 2.5 minutes to go to take a 23-20 lead, but that would not stand Roethlisberger. Threw the touchdown to Holmes. Steelers are the first team to win the 6 Super Bowls. Super Bowl 44, we have the Saints against the Colts. Saints still kind of rallying after Hurricane Katrina. They signed Drew Brees. They hire Sean Payton, and they win this one 31-17. Drew Brees, the MVP. Colts were leading this game 10-0. Saints would add 2 field goals to end the half, and then they do the surprise onside, get the ball. They're up 24-17, and Manning's picked off at the end of the game by Tracy Porter, who takes it all the way, as Jim Nantz says, for the touchdown. And New Orleans, not the Saints, New Orleans wins Super Bowl 44. And that's their only Super Bowl appearance and Super Bowl title. Super Bowl 45, we have down in Jerry's world, the Packers defeating the Steelers 31-25. Aaron Rodgers had a great game. He was the MVP. Threw a touchdown to Greg Jennings, threw into Jordy Nelson. Great game for him. Steelers claw back, but can't complete the comeback. Nick Collins had a pick six in that one early in the game. Not much else on that one. Packers win their 4th Super Bowl. They get the first 2. They get one with Favre and then one with Rodgers. Super Bowl 46. This is the Giants defeating the Patriots in a Super Bowl rematch 21-17 at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. MVP this one, Eli Manning gets his 2nd Super Bowl MVP. Say what you want, but the guy showed up big in the big game twice. That throw to Mario Manningham's well known. Brady called for a safety in the beginning of the game. Ahmad Bradshaw, did he want to go in? Did he not want to go in? The Patriots kind of let him score with a rushing touchdown with about a minute to go. Brady's Hail Mary falls short at the end of the game, and the Giants win their 4th Super Bowl. Super Bowl 47 played at the Superdome. This is the one where the lights went out. The Baltimore Ravens defeat the San Francisco 49ers 34-31. This is the first defeat in Super Bowls by the 49ers. MVP of this one is Joe Flacco for his performance. Threw touchdowns to Jacoby Jones, Dennis Pitta, and Quan Bolden. So before the blackout, Ravens dominated. After the blackout, Kaepernick went off and almost led a comeback that just fell short on a 4th and goal fade to Crabtree, which fell short. Ray Lewis's final game gets the Super Bowl title down in New Orleans. Super Bowl 48, we have at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. One of the only Super Bowls played, I believe one of the only ones in like that cold weather. It's usually played down south or in a dome. But they were lucky to get nice weather, high in temperature. I believe it was cloudy all day though. 43-8, Seahawks defeat the Broncos. MVP Malcolm Smith for his effort, pick 6 on Manning. That was the safety in the beginning of the game, but the ball was snapped over Manning's head and went into the end zone. Seahawks dominated this game, and Seahawks win their first Super Bowl. Next, Super Bowl 49, Patriots defeat the Seahawks 28-24. Tom Brady, MVP, throws 4 touchdowns. Everyone knows this game as the Malcolm Butler interception. What are the Seahawks doing? Malcolm Butler picks off Russell Wilson with 30 seconds to go, and the Patriots win their 4th Super Bowl, their first in 10 years, down in Arizona and Phoenix. Super Bowl 50. We have the only Super Bowl that doesn't technically have Roman numerals. It's just a 50. Broncos, Manning gets, the sheriff gets his Super Bowl, second Super Bowl to end his career. 24-10 over the Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton, the MVP, coming in of the league, but Von Miller had a great game. The strip sack that led to a touchdown recovery by Malik Jackson, and then another strip sack at the end of the game. Von Miller, the MVP, Peyton Manning goes out a champion. Super Bowl 51, so it's the largest Super Bowl comeback in Super Bowl history. Patriots defeat the Falcons 34-28 in the only overtime game in Super Bowl history. We all thought the Falcons had it, even me as a Patriots fan, but they didn't. Brady led a miraculous comeback. Edelman with the crazy catch. James White, pitch right, scores a touchdown to win the game in overtime. So that was a crazy game. Super Bowl 52, Patriots. By the way, 51. Robert Alford had a pick 6 on Tom Brady right before the half to extend the Falcons' lead to 21-3. Next, Super Bowl 52. We're almost there, folks. Super Bowl 52. The Eagles win their first Super Bowl. Nick Foles, 41-33 in Minneapolis at US Bank Stadium. MVP Nick Foles for his performance, the Philly special. He'll go down as one of the greatest plays in NFL history. They beat the Patriots. Brady throws for 500 yards, but it's not enough, and the Eagles win. Super Bowl 53, we have Patriots over the Rams 13-3. MVP Julian Edelman for his effort with over 10 catches, over 100 yards, no touchdowns. But this is the lowest scoring Super Bowl in Super Bowl history. And also, the Rams don't score a touchdown at all. That I said earlier, them and the Miami Dolphins, Super Bowl 6, the only teams not to score a touchdown at all. So Patriots, second team to win 6 Super Bowls. And then most recently, Kansas City Chiefs over the San Francisco 49ers, 31-20. Patrick Mahomes, the MVP of that one. This one just played about almost 2 months ago. Mahomes with that throw to Tyreek Hill got them back in the game. They were down 10 at that point. They score. Travis Kelce scores. Damian Williams scores. And then Damian Williams scores again. And the Chiefs win their first Super Bowl in 50 years. So that one played in Miami, by the way. So that's it. That's all I got. Thank you for listening. If you guys like this and you stayed through all 39 minutes and you want me to do more of these, I could do like NCAA to a certain point, MLB to a certain point. I'll definitely do those. So thank you so much for listening. Bye, guys.